Prices going up in Kelowna, crane safety, workplace safety, of course, front and center, as you can imagine now. Let's go to Doug Perovic. He's a professor of forensic engineering at the University of Toronto. Doug, thank you for taking the time for CTV News today.
Good to be with you.
What can bring down a crane like this, like the collapse we saw in Kelowna?
Yeah, a tragic event. Really, there's four main causes. The main one, and the most common one, being weather-related events. Secondly, it could be operator error. Thirdly, overloading. And fourthly, some kind of a mechanical failure. So those would be the main ones.
Weather as in high winds, perhaps?
Yeah, high winds, that's the most common culprit for bringing cranes down. I took a quick look at the weather data for Kelowna at the time of this collapse, and the maximum gusts were about 40 kilometers per hour, so I don't think this looks like a wind-related event.
And what would mechanical failure look like in this kind of situation?
Well, it could look like what we see in the photos from what little information is available, and what I've seen from the photos is the jib or the boom of this crane collapsed and came down. So it appears, and I understand they were dismantling it. It wasn't in operation. So that points possibly to a failure in some connection, in a joint, in a weld. Speculation, but that's kind of what it's pointing to.
There are so many different construction sites right across our country and in all the different provinces right now, and you see these cranes up there. How vulnerable are they? Because, obviously this kind of thing is extremely rare, but it does happen.
Yeah, it's extremely rare, particularly non-weather related incidents are very, very rare, like the one we have here, I believe. So as far as there are many cranes, as you said, up working in big cities. So the numbers of these failures are quite small, but of course one is too many. Cranes are certified. There's annual inspections, maintenance records, operator certification. That's all checked quite carefully. So these are highly regulated pieces of equipment.
As you said, the crane was actually being taken down. Now, tell me what that procedure is like. So, the work is done that the crane was brought in to do, and now they've got to get it down safely. And just in layman's terms, what does that look like?
Well, clearly, as common sense tells you, this needs to be dismantled in a balanced fashion, since you've got a large counterweight on the back end of the crane. So you want to dismantle it in a prescriptive process to start disconnecting segments of the crane to not cause an imbalance in the loading. So that there are well-defined procedures for that. If during that process there's a failure in a component or in a connection, that of course is unexpected and leads to a catastrophic event. What
will the investigation look like?
Well, they will obviously work backwards to piece together all of the various components, and to then look and initially find the origin of this failure, which will be quite straightforward to do. All the components are there. It's not covered in rubble, or we don't have other extraneous factors. So it should be quite straightforward to work backwards and determine where was the origin, and ultimately from that the cause.
And obviously we have very rigorous workplace safety rules in different work sites right across the country.
Yes, indeed. In a country like Canada, those rules are in place and highly regulated. So Workspace BC have as good a rules as you'll find. So I don't think. We'll see if there was an issue with inspections and maintenance of this crane.
Doug, I thank you for taking the time to come on CTV today and give us your thoughts. I appreciate it. It's very early going, but nevertheless, it's great to get your insights.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
Doug Perovic joining us there. He's a forensic engineer with the University